How you doing? My name is Barry, and today we're going to spend the next 45 minutes making sure you know everything there is to know about adding a free look system in Unreal Engine 5. Alright, in order to keep you from getting lost, we need to talk about the different types of rotations made available to you in Unreal Engine 5. First off, we have the world rotation. It is the north, south, east, west direction of the world, the game map where everything exists. So when you talk about world rotation, you're talking about what? The world, the orientation of the world. Then we have the actor rotation. The actor rotation is the rotation of a particular actor object. So when you talk about the actor rotation, you're also going to be talking about the pawn and character rotation because they are the children of the parent class actor. So when you talk about actor rotation, you can be talking about your character itself. And last but not least, we have our control rotation, which controls the rotation of the camera. It is the rotation of what the player is in control of. That is why it's called the control rotation. It controls the camera where you're looking at right now. When you move the mouse, we're talking about control rotation. If we look at a visual example of this, we can look at our static rotation of the map where north, south, east, west is. We have our character in there facing north, and we have our control, our camera facing north as well. As I push forward on the keyboard, my character starts to move north. If I change with my controls by moving the mouse to the left, you will see that the camera will turn, and the orientation of north for the camera is followed by our actor, who also rotates to always face north, the same direction as the north of our control rotation. The desired output is that whenever we push Alt and hold Alt and then move our mouse to control and move left, the orientation of north will change for our control rotation, but our actor's rotation will remain facing in the same direction as before. Because our actor in our game is not a tank or an alien or an owl, we will be limiting how far left and right they can turn their head while moving the controls. Alright, testing the microphone. Testing. Okay, so last video was a bit choppy, so I decided to try recording with Streamlabs OBS in order to get a better quality video. So we are back in our Unreal Engine. We are in the same thing as earlier. As you can see, we still have our first person toggle that we did earlier that we implemented, and we're going to be working from this project. Because we have this first person toggle, we're going to need to do a couple extra things in order to implement the free look. And if you don't have first person toggle, well, I'm sorry, but this should still work for you. So what we want to do is go ahead and get out of here. We're not in there yet. We don't have to worry about that. As our logic states, we want to be able to push Alt in order to turn on our free look ability. And just real quick, let me bounce back in here. And earlier you saw we did we listened to a keyboard event where the user could press enter in order to do something. And in Unreal Engine, there's more ways to skin a rabbit or whatever the animal is of choice. And the more effective way, the way people are going to want you to do it whenever you start working somewhere, I guess, is to use something called input actions. What you want to do is go into your content folder, third person folder, then go into the input folder, and then go into your actions folder. Here you'll see a bunch of input actions, and one of them's jump. You can look and move. We're going to be messing with this look later on, but for now we need to add our own input action. So you can right click and you can just type it in. Action, yep, input action, and click on that. And we're going to give it a name. We're going to follow the naming scheme of these other input actions here, which is to IA for input action underscore, and we're going to call this one free look. Press enter, and there it is. Now we have an input action. The difference between these and what we did before is that you can map these to more than just one item. Like earlier, it only listened to keyboard inputs, but now it can listen to like controller inputs, you know, if you got your own controller or something, and all kinds of things, phone inputs. And the way you do that, you have to add this to the list of input mapping contexts. And this is already created here by default. You can double click it and open it up. And if you look at these other ones, they have exactly what I was talking about. They have a gamepad version, the keyboard version, the mouse version. Yeah. And so we're going to add to this list of mappings here. We're going to add our newly created input action. It should be in the drop down menu here. IA free look. So there you have it. And now this one just got added, so it doesn't have anything assigned. We're only going to worry about keyboard stuff here. And so you can just you can click this and change it. And but yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to go here in the drop down menu, go to keyboard. And in most games, you just hold Alt to trigger the free look. So we're going to say left Alt. And yeah, that works for me. And we can just get out of here, save this. So now whenever someone pushes left Alt, the input action free look is going to trigger. Right now it doesn't do anything because we haven't given it anything to do. And so we can close out of here and you know, navigate to this. If you don't know how to get here from earlier, go to your blueprints and click on your BP third person character, and then this window will pop up. You're going to navigate to the event graph tab. Okay, so once everybody gets here, you guys there? All right, so we're going to add our own little section here again. All right, just like we did first person toggle. I'm going to right click, I'm going to do comment. There we go, add a comment, and we're gonna name it our free look section right here. And we're gonna open that up and give it a bunch of space because this is gonna be a little bit more complex than what we've been dealing with before. Once we get started here, the first thing we wanna do is think about our logic. All right, we wanna get that input action free look. We already have it to where when they push Alt, it'll trigger it. But where is it in here? We don't see it anywhere. Well, what you have, you know, you don't see it. So what you gotta do is you gotta right click. And you gotta type in IA free look. And you wanna go to the events. Just like the keyboard events, we have these input action events. When this event happens, this function is called, and it'll do whatever it tells you to do, or we tell it to do. And so whenever this input action gets triggered, what we're going to want to do first is we're going to want to toggle or keep track of when the person is free looking somehow, because this isn't like before where we only had to, like, you know, push the button once and it turns on, and then, you know, push it again and it toggles. It's not like a toggler. This is like a hold the button sort of deal. So we're going to need something to keep track of that. So what we need is a variable here. And the variable we're going to use is a Boolean. See, what a Boolean is it has a true and false value. And so like whatever it's set to, it's going to be true, and then it's going to be false. So you can name this variable whatever you want. I'm going to call it is free looking. And now we have our is free looking Boolean, and we could just drag that in here. And we want to set is free looking, okay? And so whenever someone is pushing this button, we want to set is free looking to true. And whenever they release this button, we want to set is free looking to false. You could also type it in here. Set is free looking will pop up because we created that variable. And so this is only the beginning. All right, stay with me. Now that we have our Boolean toggle set up, what we want to do is affect the character movement somehow, you know. like in our logic that we showed earlier in our example. So we can get the character movement component right here, okay? This handles all the movement logic of our character, okay? And what we want to have happen is we want to set the orientation of this movement to be ignored whenever the person is free looking, okay? And so we can add a set orient rotation. Actually, I think you got to type in just rotation and it'll pop up a little bit better. Rotation to movement. Yeah. Oh yeah, so if you don't see it, you got to uncheck this box right here. Some of these things are context sensitive and they won't show you anything unless it can guess what it is. So we're going to set the orientation, set the rotation to the movement here. All right. Bam. Yeah, put it in the target block. And we're going to drag this here. Okay. Set orient rotation to movement. It's a tongue twister for me. I don't know why. And we're going to get another one of these. Bring it down here. And in this case, we want to set it to be back on whenever the person is finished free looking. So we are setting it up so that whenever you're free looking, you're holding down the Alt button, this function gets called. We toggle our Boolean to be true, that you're free looking. And then we no longer orient the rotation to movement, okay? So that means when you try to look around, it's not going to turn your character's body and stuff. And yeah, whenever they're finished, we check this box. So let's go ahead and just save it and compile. Nothing really is going to happen yet because the camera is what we need to mess with. We need to mess with some other things here in order to get this logic truly bopping. What we're going to do is come all the way up here to our movement input right here, okay? Because we're going to be messing with these, okay? And we're going to work with forward and backwards first. So we're going to drag this open. We're going to drag this open as well. And we're going to make some space here because we want to edit what happens right in this area, all right? And I'll explain this step by step, don't worry, okay? So you want to get your capsule component, okay? The capsule component is pretty much your character, okay? Which way are they facing? You can tell with this capsule component here. And we want to drag this out and get the world rotation because we want to see which way your character is facing in relation to the world around him. Or her. Or them. Doesn't matter. Bam. And so what we're doing here is we're going to split the structure pin here. So we can see the X, Y, and Z of the rotational values of your character in relation to the world. And the return value Z of this get control rotation here, which is how you're moving your camera around, right, is going to go into a select float. What's going on here is a select float kind of works like flip-flop where it does A or B, but you can set the condition of when it picks A and then when it picks B. The condition of when it picks A is going to be decided based off of our Boolean here. That is free looking. We're going to get the value of is free looking. And that will be when we push A. And as we know from earlier, we set the value of is free looking Boolean whenever Alt is pressed, okay? And yeah, really we want this to be A, is what it is. Bam. Yeah, we want our character, like, you know, figure out which way they're facing in the world and make that be how we control, like, you know, the input here, okay? It's no longer you controlling the input. Your character's body, which way they're facing, is going to dictate the forward direction for them. And this will be instead the B value right here, okay? And we can break this link right here. Boom. Yeah, I don't know why that's still there. Bam. And whenever we're done with that, that's just pretty much the result of this, whether or not we're going to use which way your body's facing or which way you're moving the character around is going to be based off of whether or not we are free looking right now. So that's it for forward and backwards. We're going to highlight this and we can drag it all the way down here because now we need to work with the left and right moving directions. Okay, so at this point, we're going to add another select float. We're doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to drag all of this down just a little bit. Okay, and we want to keep it in here. I like to keep it slightly organized. Yeah, I'm going to drag this down. Bam. Savage. We're gonna mess around with these. I need 2 hands. I gotta hold the mic. I'm cheap. You can highlight it and sometimes it'll work. Alright, fuck it. Why is it not working? There it is. God, Unreal Engine. Gotta love it. Gonna add another one here. Yeah, we're gonna keep it neat as we go. Bam. Nice and neat. Okay. Well, that'll do. Okay, so anyway, we're going to do the same thing here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a select float again. It's pretty much the same concept of what we're doing, but this time we're going to be messing with the X, which is the rolling value, okay? As your character tilts as they move through the world, say they're walking on a hill, we want that to be dictated based off of whether or not the person is free looking, because as your character tilts, it might change which way is their left and right direction, okay? And so the return value X of the get world rotation from here is going to go into A, and then we want the return value X of the get control rotation in the left right block to go into the B. Let's move this down so you can see what's going on right here, okay? And the return value of the select float's gonna go into the X. That's right. And I guess it automatically replaces it, so that's always nice. All right. We're gonna not worry about making all the lines look nice right now. We'll just do that at the end, okay? For the sake of time. So let's compile this. Let's save it. And there's one more thing we have to do. The return value of this old select float down here needs to go into the in left Z rotation for this one as well. Only when free looking is true, okay? And whenever it's not, we're still gonna use this Z. All right. So now that we're at this point, let's go ahead and test it out and see what's wrong with it. There's gonna be something wrong with this right now because there's more that we have to do. Let's minimize it and play it. I just want to illustrate to y'all what's going on. It will work in third person mode. If I hold down Alt in third person mode, it kind of works, right? Free looking. But in first person mode, not so much, right? That's because we have the first person toggle set up. I'm holding Alt, but my character's body is still rotating. And so that's because we have more things to do. All right. We're going to go back here, come back. We're going to come down to this. And we want to set it up so that we use the control rotation yaw. Okay. Use the controller's rotational yaw. Okay. we're going to set it to be false whenever we are free looking. Okay, we're no longer using whichever way the controller's mouse is moving left and right to control the body of the character. We want to turn that off. Yep. And we're going to do the same thing here, but we're going to turn it back on whenever we're finished. We're going to compile it, save it. And now if we go back in here, you're still going to see some things that are a little bit buggy. Okay? But we're just illustrating step by step what's going on. So I'm running around, I hold Alt, third person mode, it looks fine. First person mode, I'm running around, I hold Alt, it works. But I'm noticing that my character's body just snaps in whatever direction I'm looking at last. And I can turn my head all the way around, which is not desirable. Okay? So if you're cool with a laggy looking thing like this, you can do that. But we're going to go ahead and account for this right now. So we're going to escape out of here. We're going to go back into our content drawer, open this back up. And we want to set up two things. We want a smooth animation of the head turning back forward. And we want to set it up so that we limit how far left and right this person can turn their head. Okay? And we're going to account for both of those in that order. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come out here. We're going to have to mess with this whole section. All right? So we're going to drag this out a little bit. All right, we're still in our block. Drag this out. Okay. So get a glass of water. It's going to get crazy right here. Okay. And yeah, this is a little bit more complex than our toggling section. I wish we could stop here, but it's not the case, baby. Not the case. All right, I hope you guys are ready because now things are going to get a little bit crazy in here. We are messing with the free look system, all right? So now that we've opened this up, we're going to add two things. We're going to add some sequences in here, okay? Sequence. All right, the sequence is going to execute things step by step. It's going to do the first thing, then the second thing. We're going to add two of them because we need two sequences to be ran through in this process, all right? One for the beginning and then one for the end of the free look section. Triggered in here, completed in here, okay? The first thing we want to do is exactly what we did before, so we can just drag this into the old one. When we set free looking to true and everything. And the second time we do the second thing in the sequence is going to be setting a boolean. All right, we're going to need to get some variables in here, not necessarily a boolean, but one of the booleans we do need is snapping back. Why do we need is snapping back? Because we need to track when we're playing our animation of the head snapping back. We're also going to add get original character rotation, because we need to know what the character's rotation is. It's not a boolean this time. It's going to be a rotator, okay? Boom. All right, because that's going to give us our XYZ values, okay? And we also need to add a couple more variables. Our target snap rotation. This is the target that we're aiming for when we want the head to stop rotating. And we're going to add start snap rotation. This is going to keep track of where we started our rotation of the head going back forward in our animation that we are building out right now. So now that we got all our variables in here, right, we're going to go ahead and start using them. So yeah, right after this, we're going to set our original character rotation boolean. We need to set this to something. So we're going to put it here. We're going to say set the original character rotation, okay? We need to know where this guy is going to be turning back to, all right? And this doesn't have any values yet because we haven't given it any values, all right? And since we want the original character's rotation, we're going to want to get the actor's rotation, right? The actor is the parent class of the characters in our game. And we're going to set that as the value for the original character rotation. Okay, so all we did was set this to true. They're free looking, and we took a quick snapshot of what the actor's rotation is before they start turning around and stuff. Okay, and so when are completed, whenever they're done free looking, right? What we're gonna do is the same exact thing, set free looking to false, but now we want to start our animation. Okay, and the first thing we want to do is set that is snapping back to true. Okay, this is how we keep track of whether or not we're snapping back. Okay, it's the Boolean again, true and false. Okay, and after that we want to set our target snap rotation. What we need to do is add another pin because we only get 0 and 1 in the beginning. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and set target snap rotation. Okay, that's this Boolean right here. We're setting this Boolean to a value. Setting this Boolean to what? The actor's rotation. Just like before. We need to get the actor rotation. Whoa! Not this. Be very specific. Get the actor's rotation. Okay. This is the target snap position. Okay, we set it here, right? And then we're gonna get it back. Okay. Now you might be wondering why I have two different variables here, but this is just like, you could technically use the same variable both times, but I'm just putting it here so you can see logically and understand what's going on once we get to this second step. But these are technically the exact same value, okay? The target snap rotation and getting the original character's rotation. Okay, so boom, here we go. We've done free looking, it's turned off. We set our Boolean to true, we are snapping back. And then 2, we get the target snap rotation, which is the actor's rotation, which is kind of sort of the same thing as this. Okay, so we're gonna add another pin. There's more work to be done. Now, after this, we want to set the start rotation, okay? Set start snap rotation, okay? And what this is going to point to is going to be the control rotation, right? Which way you're facing with the controller, okay? So you need to get the control rotation. Okay, there's 2 pawns in here, a little bit confusing, but it doesn't matter. Pretty sure they're talking about the same pawn. There's only 1 pawn in the game. Okay, so these are the steps so far. And now it's gonna get a little bit crazier. Okay, we turn off free looking, snapping back is true. We get the actor's rotation, which way is the body facing of our character. And then we set the start snap rotation, which is going to be set to the value of which way the mouse is pointing for the person playing the game. But in this case, the control rotation is not targeting itself, okay? If we compile this, we'll get an error right here, okay? For some reason, unbeknownst to me, we need to make sure that we get the player's rotation as well. Get the player's controller. Okay, and set that to be the value of get control rotation, okay? It's the same thing that we've been discussing earlier this whole time. The control rotation is which way the player's controller, aka the camera, is facing, okay? But we need to explicitly state this, and then it will compile without an error. Just figured I'd point that out. We're gonna add another pin, and for then 4, this is when the magic happens. We're going to add a timeline, okay? So we obviously need a little bit more space than this. I'm going to drag this open. We're going to take all this
And we're gonna put it all the way over here, okay? Way down there. We'll make it look pretty at the end, but we need some space for this one, okay? So then 4 is gonna go into what we call a timeline. Where is it? There it is. Add timeline. Boom. Sometimes you gotta click that box. You gotta play with it. Wow. What happened? Don't do that. Okay. And we don't want to just do play. We want to play it from the start. I will tell you why. I'll illustrate the difference afterwards. But if you can understand through words alone, if you push play, it'll just play to a certain point and then stop. But if you play it from the start, every time we get here, it'll reset and play from the start. We can double click on our timeline. We want to add a track. We're going to add a float track. We're going to name this snapback track. And we're going to add 2 events. You can just right click and hit add key. And we're going to have one start at 0 and 0. And then another one start at 0.5. It's a half second. And 1, which is 100%. It's a percentage value. It's not an actual number, okay? And we want the length to be 0.6. Doesn't matter. Okay, so we're going to save that, compile, close out of this, and come right back. And now we're going to start doing this snapback timeline magic, okay? So we're going to have to update something. We're going to update the yaw in particular. Set control rotation. You got to untick this box again. Because if you have it ticked, it'll only show you these. You untick it, you want to set the whole control rotation. Alright, for the controller. And now you want to go ahead and get the player controller from then 3, right? Is also going to be the target for the newly added control rotation. This is what we're changing. Which way the player's camera is going to be facing. Okay. And so we need to do something else. We need to add a lerp. What lerp is linear interpolation. All right. It's going to go from mathematically from A to B. All right. So let's go ahead and add a lerp. Mathematically, this will go from A to B. Okay. And at a certain rate of change, which is the alpha. And then it's going to return a value. And yeah, it pretty much, if you, like, for example, you wanted to go from 0 to 25, and you put in like something like 5, that would be 1/5 mathematically. lerp does that math for you. Yeah, that's the magic behind lerp. And actually, you want the lerp rotator, not just the regular lerp. You want a lerp rotator that can give you the rolling 3D values, okay? So if you can think of lerp rotational wise, congratulations, because I struggle with this concept myself. But anyway, so the snapback timelines alpha is gonna go into the alpha of this, okay? The rate of change from 0 to 1, because this has a 0 to 1 value, is gonna mess with the 0 to 1 value for the lerp, okay? This is the change. And so whenever you start snap rotation, this is our value from here that we set earlier, right? Set it earlier to the controller. We start the snap rotation. We're gonna get this value and we're gonna put it in the A, okay? And then what's the B? We're going from the start snap rotation to, that's right, the target snap rotation. We can just get that value and we're gonna put it in the B, okay? So yeah, there's this, and we want to tick this box, the shortest path. Otherwise, it'll take a long, weird neck-turning path in order to get there. Okay. And so yeah, we're gonna ensure that the return value of this lerp goes into the earlier created new rotation of set control rotation path. Okay. Right here. New rotation, the set control rotation. Alright. I know this is ugly, but I'm hoping you guys are keeping up. I told you it's gonna be crazy. So right now this is a little bit crazy. Okay. But we're gonna go ahead and save it and compile. And then let's test it out. Let's see what's going on, okay? Let's play. Now I'm in third person mode. I hold Alt, I look to the right. And I'm doing the animation, but my body is still snapping. You know what I mean? I'm doing the turn. I'm turning back smoothly, but my body is still snapping. And also, yeah, I'm still looking behind me, so we gotta fix that as well. I told you this is gonna be crazy, so buckle up your seatbelts. You're in for a ride. We're gonna go right back in here. Go back in here, and what if I told you that this right here actually is the cause of why the body is doing the thing? We're just gonna drag that there, okay? What happened is when we're done free looking, we don't want to immediately use the rotation yaw again and orient rotation to movement. We want to wait until our whole animation is finished. There's this finish box in the timeline, and then we do this. So let's compile it, save it, test it out again. This error came a little bit at a weird time. We're supposed to get a different failure just now. So I'm running around and free looking. There we go. Now, yeah, you see, this is what the failure is that we're supposed to get, okay? That, you know, you can turn around forever, and yeah. If you switch to first person, you can turn around forever. You can look through the back of your head. That's not cool, you know what I'm saying? That's not cool. So we're gonna go ahead and try and fix that. Come back into our content drawer, open this back up. I apologize for the unexpected error coming out of order, but we're also gonna clean this up, and at the end of the video, I'll show you what it looks like when it's nice and neat. But for the sake of time, because this video is going a little bit long, we're gonna hurry it up, okay? We're gonna get into the camera input now, all right? I don't know if you guys are learning anything here, but I'm gonna keep it slow paced to a certain degree and explain everything that we're doing. Right now, we're gonna have to mess with limiting how far left and right our character can look. This is the easiest part. We have the hard part done. The hard part is finished. Trust me. Just hang in there. This part is going to be easy compared to everything else we've just done. So let's just go ahead and breeze through it. Whenever look is triggered, okay, this is when you look around freely in the game. All right, they already had this input action look set up in existence, and we want to add a limit to that whenever you are free looking and free looking only. Okay, so we're going to use a branch. Whenever this gets triggered, we're going to go into a branch. A branch is pretty much kind of like a if statement. If a certain condition is true, do this. If the condition is false, do something else. Okay, the condition is automatically true, but we want to uncheck that box, and we want to set it up to is free looking, dictating whether or not we're going to get is free looking, dictating whether or not we're going to limit how far left and right this person can look. And we're just going to essentially, we want to cut off the input whenever this person is free looking and they go past a certain value. All right, so really what we want to have is, if this is false, we do nothing crazy, we do our regular left and right. But if this is true, we're gonna have to add our logic. How do we set it up so that the user can't look further left and can't look further right? So we need to get the control rotation, right? We need to see which way this camera is rotating. Get control rotation. Boom. We need to get this value. And what we want to do is pretty much get the actor rotation as well. And the reason why we get these two values is we're going to compare which way the actor's body is facing and how far the camera has turned in relation to the actor's body. The actor being your character. Which way is north for your character? Which way is north for your camera? We need to compare these two values. So if you're looking too far east or west or south even, you're trying to look south in comparison to the body of your character, we will cut off all input and your character will not be allowed to do that. We can do this by adding a break rotator in here. Break rotator just pretty much breaks up the X, Y, and Z values, okay, for both of these. We're only worried about the yaw, the Z value, left and right, the yaw, okay? Boom. So we got one for the camera and we got one for the character, okay? And what we want to do is we're going to have to subtract the difference between these two. We can add a subtract block. All right. And what this does is going to subtract the bottom from the top. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to subtract the bottom from the top, okay? We subtract the difference of, like, if this is 180 degrees and this is 90 degrees, you know, we'll get negative 90 degrees. And that's kind of hard to keep track of, you know, because like we have 360 degrees to deal with. So what we want to do is we want to normalize this value. Normalize the axis of this value to a certain angle, okay? This is going to pretty much set it up to be between negative 180 and 180 degrees no matter what. It makes it a lot easier to do the math in here. And after we normalize that value, now we need to add it to a certain value, okay? We're going to add an add block. All right, what are we going to add this to? Can anyone take a guess? No, we're going to add it to the X value of this thing right here. Boom. Which way you're looking, left and right, the X value of how far left and how far right you're trying to look as you play the game, okay? And so the action value X is what we're going to be getting here, and we're going to go ahead and compare these values. Is it greater than or less than a certain value? We're going to say greater and less than. All right. So these two values here, you know, if you want, I can clearly, I'm gonna go back and label these for you guys. This is the current offset value. This is the normalized offset, okay? Actually, no, since we added this up, this is the proposed offset. We're adding this to what the person is trying to do, right? Current offset, proposed. We propose that we want to go to something too far, you know what I mean? Too far than my limits. You know, I don't want my limits. I don't want you to be able to turn your head more than 120 degrees to the right or left, you know, or negative 120 degrees to the right or left. I don't know which way. But, you know, we want to keep it between a realistic limit. I'd say 90 degrees, but I feel like you could turn your head a little bit further than that if you do it in real life. Plus, I also Googled the limits of how far we can turn our heads, and this is generally the limits that are normal for the human body. Okay, so if it's, we want to add an OR block here, a Boolean. All right, if either of these are true, if this is true or this is true, okay, OR is going to return true. We're going to add another branch here. Okay, this is the condition of the branches, our OR statement. If it's true, we don't do anything. We cut off all input. You cannot input anything. Notice how both the X and the Y values, or primarily the X value, is going to be the one that we're controlling here. You can still look up and down. There's already a limit baked into the controlling of up and down, but not for left and right. So X is going in here into this big equation we have. And then if it's true, we won't allow any input. X doesn't go anywhere. Input is cut off. But if it's false, we're going to allow you to keep moving. We're going to allow you to keep moving that head. Add the controller yaw input, okay? So you could either add one right here, or you can just get rid of it and just drag it all the way into this one. Oh yeah, I forgot. We're not even triggering this condition. I don't know what's wrong with me. We want to trigger this branch. I don't know why that took me so long to figure out. Compile, save, and now if we go back, it should work. Hold on, wait, play. Right, there we go. Now I can't turn my head too far to the left and right when I'm free looking. If I'm looking over here, it animates back to the front. It's a beautiful thing. What about in first person mode? Yep, same deal. Can't turn my head around like an owl. It's a beautiful thing, okay? Beautiful. Perfect. Dynamite. I move my left, right, up, down, all the way to the end. And I got these nice little highways going on. This looks good to me. I don't know about you. Here's the free look section. Okay, the big crazy one. I don't know if you noticed, I made a little gap right here to try and fit everything, but it was really hard to make this look neat, but I did my best. Leave me alone. I put it all the way to the left, and I got these interstates running. Go ahead, study it. Find it out. Alright guys, if you like this video, please like and subscribe.